What you need to do is ask the Lord if he wants you to continue to sacrifice for them. Or maybe perhaps set boundaries in that relationship. Jesus did that. Do you know that Jesus set boundaries as he sacrificed his schedule for others by stopping whatever he was doing? He helped people when they inconvenienced him. That was typical of Jesus. He helped those that were blind. He helped those that were dying. He helped those that were sick. He helped those that he needed to love. He would minister to children and sinners. But then there were times he set healthy limits. He set healthy limits. We read about it in Luke chapter 5. And Jesus had just healed someone of leprosy. And we read about it in verses 12 through 16. And you can turn in your Bible because that's the text that we're looking at. But in Luke 5, 12 through 16, it says this. While he was in one of the cities, behold, there was a man covered with leprosy. And when he saw Jesus, he fell on his face and begged him, saying, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. And he reached out with his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing. This is Jesus. I love that Jesus touched him, because you see, when you have leprosy, no one wants to touch you. But Jesus knew before there was a spiritual healing, there was a physical need. And that's so typical of Jesus. I love that. He reached out with his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. And immediately the leprosy left him. And he ordered him to tell no one. He said, don't tell anyone about this. I mean, talk about not wanting to grow a church. You know, I mean, he could have grown the kingdom significantly. But he ordered him to say no, to no one. But go and show yourself to the priest and make an offering for your cleansing, just as Moses commanded, as a testimony to them. But the news about him was spreading even further, and large crowds were gathered to him to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Jesus himself would often slip away to the wilderness and pray. Are you surprised by what Jesus did by setting boundaries? Think about that, friends, on his interaction with, instead of rescuing everyone's needs, Jesus went away. He withdrew and he prayed. How many of you have maybe gone to Disneyland or Magic Mountain or someplace, and you were getting ready to get on the ride and you were waiting in a line for 2 or 3 hours, and right when you were like maybe 10 people ahead or behind, they closed the ride? How many of you just were like, yeah, that's exciting. I just wasted 2.5 hours of my life, and I didn't get to ride the ride that I wanted to. Think about those people who came from far and all sorts. Maybe you were the third person in line, and you saw Jesus, and you're like, I'm going to get healed today. I'm going to be able to do this. And then he leaves. How would you have felt? Can you imagine being the next person or 2 people in line to be healed, and Jesus decides to leave you? But what would happen if Jesus had not set boundaries? Think about it, friends. Jesus was fully God. We know that, but he was also fully human. But Jesus knew a particular important principle. And if you want to write this down, I would encourage you to do this. If we don't take care of ourselves, we'll eventually have nothing to give others. It's the truth. Responding to every want or need might seem like love, but if that person is running on empty, let me just tell you this, friends. You're bringing fumes into that relationship, and that relationship won't last forever. How many of you just love driving on E? You just love taking that Russian roulette and just taking, how much further you can go. No, when we see that light come on in our car, that little gas symbol with the little, hose and all that stuff, we don't just keep driving. We're like, I gotta find a gas station, and you gotta fill your tank. Some people are incredibly good at sacrificing for others. There's people in this room so that he can maintain thriving and healthy relationships despite those difficult situations he faced with other people. You see, Jesus also taught examples of boundaries when he showed us how we should pray. He taught us how to pray. He taught us how to be honest. He taught us how to be direct with people. In Matthew 5:36,